When did you realize your perfect fiance was a con artist? Dude, I don't even know where to start. I'm currently sitting in my beat-up 2018 Honda Civic, parked illegally in the loading zone outside my apartment building, apartment 3B, with the emergency lights flashing and the AC blasting because it's 98 degrees on this hellish 4th of July afternoon, and I am literally vibrating with rage and disbelief. I need to vent this into the internet void or I think my brain will explode. The wedding, the actual ceremony, hasn't even happened yet, but the disaster, oh, the disaster is already here. This isn't just cold feet, guys. This is full-blown, intentional, malicious sabotage orchestrated by the people closest to me, and I am the biggest idiot for not seeing it. In GL, I knew getting married on the 4th of July was inherently chaotic. We did it because the venue, the ridiculously overpriced Old Glory Farm out near Westfield, had a last-minute cancellation slot and gave us a steep discount on the $15,000 venue fee. We snagged it mostly because my fiancé Timothy Petra, 49M, convinced me it was a sign from the universe. Timothy, God Timothy, where do I even begin with him? We've been together for 2 years, 8 months. He's charming, ridiculously good-looking, like classic Hollywood handsome, the kind that makes waitresses at Olive Garden flirt with him even when I'm sitting right there. And he's almost 50, but he maintains this flawless veneer of youth, mostly through expensive grooming products and weekly trips to the gym to work on his dad bod aversion project. He's always had a slightly slippery quality, you know. Like whenever I asked about his job, something vaguely consulting in finance, it was all abstract numbers and meetings on the 5th floor downtown. I kept pushing down that voice in my head which, looking back, was screaming gold digger, because he just made me feel so seen. He literally told me, and I quote, "Wayne, 54M, you are the stability and anchor I never knew I needed." And I, the idiot who is somehow 54 and still falling for lines straight out of a Hallmark movie, ate it up with a spoon. Past me was an absolute clown. My job is straightforward, low-contact, high-stress. I'm a low-contact enforcer for a corporate debt firm. Basically, if you owe us money and you're being shady, I am the one who finds the loopholes and applies the pressure. It requires extreme attention to detail and zero emotional attachment. The irony of being professionally meticulous while being personally blind is not lost on me right now. Okay, so the setup. The plan was a casual, intimate barbecue reception immediately following the ceremony, leaning into the July 4th vibe. Think upscale smoked meats, craft beers, and sparklers, not black tie. Everything was ready. The caterer, Famous Dave's Barbecue NGL, delicious but not exactly gourmet, was set up. The efficient was due in an hour. The first sign that the math wasn't mathing happened Tuesday at 11:47 a.m. Timothy and I split the monthly expenses, mostly because I make significantly more than he does, even though he constantly talks about closing that big deal. Our rent, $1,247 for our tiny 2-bedroom apartment, always goes on my card because I get the travel points and he Zells me his half. This month, the Zelle transfer for $623.50 failed. I texted him, "Me, hey, rent bounced. Did you accidentally freeze the account again?" Him 5 minutes later, "OMG, so sorry, just switched banks. New one is being slow to approve transfers over 500. Sending tomorrow, promise, big client dinner tonight, need to focus." Okay, fine, he does switch banks often. Red flag, I know, but he always had an excuse about fees or bad customer service. But then Friday afternoon, 2 days before the wedding, I was paying for our final big grocery haul at Costco. We needed enough premium hot dogs and Talenti gelato for 70 people. The bill came to $43.67. I had already paid the bulk of the catering. I used our joint account debit card. Declined. That account should have at least $3,000 in there for emergency wedding stuff. I checked the app while standing in line trying to look casual, staring intently at the $347 Target bill I had incurred the week before stocking up on last-minute decor. The balance, $12.89. My stomach dropped. I physically felt my hands start shaking so bad I almost dropped my iPhone 14. I quickly went through the recent transactions. There were several large withdrawals, all labeled vaguely. 7/124, cash withdrawal $207.224, cash withdrawal $207.324, cash withdrawal $200 $7.324, plumbing services $85. We haven't had a plumber here since last year when the garbage disposal ate my AirPod. I texted Timothy immediately, ignoring the Costco cashier who was now looking pointedly at my cart full of artisanal cheeses. Me, Timothy, what is going on with the account? Where did all the cash go? Him, instant reply, which was weird, he usually takes forever, can't talk, huge vendor meeting. Emergency plumbing issue at the office this morning, had to pay cash on-site. Seriously bad smell, will call you tonight. Love you. The plumbing services $85 transaction was right there, but the total missing cash was way more than that. The math was not mathing again. But I had 100 wedding details to manage, plus I had used up all my PTO for this week, and the last thing I needed was pre-wedding money drama. I transferred $500 from my personal savings and paid for the groceries. I told myself I would deal with it after the honeymoon. Honeymoon, we were supposed to go to Italy. I should have checked if he even booked the flights. Okay, fast forward to today, July 4th, 5:30 p.m. The guests are arriving, all dressed in their festive, slightly too hot attire. The air smells like smoke from the barbecue pit and impending disaster. I am in the little bridal suite, a glorified shed behind the barn trying to focus, but the plumbing excuse is nagging at me. I pull up the Ring doorbell footage from Tuesday morning, the day he claimed the emergency plumbing happened. Now, Timothy hates the Ring, says it's an invasion of privacy. I love it because it shows me when my Amazon packages get delivered or, tragically, when they get stolen. I watched the footage for Tuesday at 11:47 a.m. The moment the Zelle failed, Timothy walks out of the apartment building at 11:35 a.m. looking stressed but impeccable. He gets into his beat-up Toyota Corolla, the one he claims is just a temporary commuter car before his next big financial windfall. The feed keeps running. At 1:05 p.m. a car pulls up. It's a very recognizable car. A black Mercedes SUV, the kind with blacked-out windows and massive rims. It belongs to Diana Richardson, 61F. Diana is an absolute menace. She lives 2 blocks over and is locally infamous for being the neighborhood package stealer. We call her the Black Merc Bandit. She steals everything that isn't nailed down, from Costco samples to full-on furniture deliveries. She's been caught on camera 20 times, but the police won't do anything because the packages are usually under $100 and not worth the paperwork. So Diana pulls up. She doesn't steal anything. She waits. Then at 1:15 p.m. who walks out of apartment 3B? Abigail Lopez, 54F. Abigail is my maid of honor, my lifelong best friend. She's a total narcissist, but I always excused it as highly motivated or just competitive. She's always had this weird rivalry with me ever since high school about everything from college admissions to who got the better booth at the local coffee shop on Main Street. She and Timothy are constantly arguing, which I always took as a sign that they secretly disliked each other, meaning I didn't have to worry about them bonding over my head. Abigail gets into Diana's Mercedes. They drive away. What the actual fuck? My maid of honor and the neighborhood package stealer meeting up in secret outside my apartment building while I'm at work. It made 0 sense. I checked the ring again for the exact time of the $85 plumbing services charge. That was around 3:00 p.m. on Wednesday. I see Timothy arrive home at 2:50 p.m. He looks anxious. He frantically unlocks the door and rushes inside. 2 minutes later, he comes back out carrying a large, dark green duffel bag. He puts it in the trunk of the Corolla, slams the lid, and drives off. No plumber, no emergency, just a mysterious duffel bag leaving the premises. At this point, I'm pacing the bridal shed trying to put on my suit jacket but failing because I am hyperventilating. I keep thinking about all those missing $200 withdrawals. Timothy has serious gambling issues, a fact he admitted to me early on, saying he was fully reformed. I pull up the laptop I brought. I literally cannot function without 2 screens and log into Hulu. Why Hulu? Because Timothy keeps his extremely organized business documents folder hidden inside the Hulu desktop app cache. I only know this because he can't remember passwords to save his life, and I had to log him into Netflix, Disney Plus, and Hulu last week. I find the business documents folder. It's usually empty. Not today. There are 2 new files. One is a PDF labeled Petra V. Howard Divorce Settlement Draft. I literally see red. The sound of the band warming up outside a terrible rendition of Sweet Caroline is ringing in my ears. I feel dizzy. I look down at my hands. They are shaking so violently they look like a cheap special effect. Divorce settlement? We aren't even married yet. I click the file. It's dated last month. It details how Timothy planned to file for divorce 2 weeks after the wedding, citing irreconcilable differences, and crucially demanding alimony based on my higher earning capacity and arguing that the wedding expenses should be reimbursed to him from the community property pool. My vision goes blurry. I wanted to scream to smash the laptop, but I did the thing where you just smile and nod while internally screaming. Professional low-contact enforcer mode kicked in, cold and analytical. I closed that file. I clicked the second file. It was a scanned receipt, a massive one. It was an invoice for a catering deposit dated 3 weeks ago, paid for with the stolen $600 cash. It wasn't for Famous Dave's Barbecue. It was for a catering service called Silver Spoon's Luxury Events. And the address for the event wasn't Old Glory Farm. It was a high-end country club 20 miles away. And the event type: a celebration for Abigail Lopez's new promotion and engagement. Engagement. Abigail 54F is engaged. She never mentioned it. She was supposed to be setting up the seating chart right now. I tried to call her. She didn't pick up. I left a message, the professionalism leaking out and replaced by pure cold fury. Me, Abigail, call me back right now. This is not a request. I felt my chest tighten. I wanted to throw up. I grabbed a bottle of water, chugged it, and tried to focus on the reality. Timothy wasn't just a gold digger. He was actively planning my financial ruin before the rings were even exchanged, using my money to fund his exit strategy. And Abigail was involved in something. I check my Apple Watch. 5:50 p.m. Ceremony starts in 10 minutes. I need to make an appearance. I need to look normal. I walk out of the shed, forcing a smile onto my face. I walk past the barbecue pit, past the confused guests already munching on appetizers. Turns out Diana, the package stealer, had dropped off a huge box of expensive artisanal cheese and crackers earlier, claiming it was from Abigail. I make my way toward the open-air altar. Timothy is standing there looking like he stepped out of a magazine, beaming. He sees me and his smile gets wider. He gives me the thumbs up. "You look incredible, darling," he mouths. I walk right past him. I walk right past the anxious officiant. I walk straight to the gift table, which is already overflowing. I see Diana Richardson, 61F, standing next to the table looking incredibly uncomfortable. She's wearing a sparkly red, white, and blue dress. The package stealer is a guest at my wedding. This just keeps getting better. I grab Diana's arm. She jumps. "Me, Diana, where is Abigail?" Diana, looking terrified. "I don't know, Wayne. I just dropped off to the cheese." Me and the mysterious duffel bag on Wednesday. The one Timothy carried out of my apartment at 3:00 p.m. Diana's eyes widened. She stammered, wait, what are you saying? I never saw a duffel bag." Timothy, realizing I'm not standing next to him, rushes over, all practiced charm. "Timothy, Wayne, honey, what is this? The guests are waiting." He grips my arm a little too tightly. Me, "Did you know that Timothy was planning to file for divorce 2 weeks from now, Diana?" Diana gasps, looking horrified. Timothy's face goes from beaming confidence to pure, terrifying white. Timothy hissing, "Wayne, stop it. You're being dramatic. You're too sensitive. This never happened." Classic gaslighting, TBH. Me, "I found the documents, Timothy, the draft settlement, and the invoice for Abigail's engagement party, paid for with my missing cash." Timothy tries to drag me away from Diana, but I plant my feet. The guests are watching now. Confused murmuring starts, a low rumble that threatens to turn into a wave of gossip. Diana, still terrified but finding her voice, says, "Wait, Abigail's engagement party? She said it was a surprise wedding shower for you." Me, "A surprise wedding shower that cost $600 cash and was booked at a country club 20 miles away on this exact date?" Diana shakes her head. No. Abigail told me it was a secret. She was worried about you being stressed, so she planned a small surprise for you and Timothy later tonight. I was just helping her move the high-end liquor and a few things she couldn't fit in her tiny car. Me, "What things, Diana? Did she steal the boxes from my house?" Diana shrinks back. "Well, she said you gave them to her. They were labeled wedding supplies backup." My heart hammers against my ribs. Wedding supplies backup. That was the label on the 3 custom-made dessert trays I had commissioned, each costing $400, and the $800 custom wedding cake topper. I had checked the closet this morning. They were gone. Timothy finally manages to wrench my arm free. "You're embarrassing yourself, Wayne. This is crazy. I never said that. You're remembering it wrong. This is ridiculous pre-wedding stress." Me, "No, Timothy. What's ridiculous is that you literally thought I, a low-contact enforcer, wouldn't check the paperwork when the math stopped mathing, or that I wouldn't check the ring footage." I look directly at him, my voice dangerously calm. "Where is Abigail, Timothy?" He avoids my eyes, looking toward the parking lot. "I haven't talked to her." He's lying. His jaw is ticking. I pull out my phone and pull up my Find My iPhone app. Abigail 54F, bless her narcissist heart, shares her location with me in case of emergencies. The tiny blue dot is not at the farm. It is exactly where the Silver Spoon's luxury events catering receipt indicated, 20 miles away. I check my messages. An hour ago, Abigail had sent me a text. "I'm so sorry, Wayne. Huge traffic. My car is overheating. We'll be there in 30 tops." She was lying, sitting 20 miles away at her own engagement party, funded by my wedding money, while she was supposed to be my maid of honor. I look at Timothy, who is now sweating profusely in his pristine tuxedo. Me, "She's at the country club, isn't she, having her little engagement celebration?" Timothy just stares at me, cornered. The guests are now completely silent, realizing this is not part of the ceremony. And then Diana 61F, the package stealer, drops the final catastrophic bomb. She points toward the parking lot where my Honda Civic is still illegally parked in the loading zone. "Diana, Timothy, that's not your car. You drove the black BMW. The one you said Abigail lent you for the day." Timothy looks like he might actually vomit on his bespoke Italian leather shoes. I hadn't even noticed the car in the chaos. Parked right next to my Civic is a ridiculously expensive, gleaming black BMW he absolutely cannot afford. I look at Diana. "What did you say?" "Abigail lent him her car." Diana nods rapidly, relieved to talk about something she actually witnessed. "Yes, she said she needed my SUV because the boxes were too big for her BMW. Timothy drove it here this morning. He even said it was a relief because his old Toyota Corolla was getting terrible gas mileage." Timothy had arrived in a BMW. The BMW that belonged to Abigail Lopez, my so-called best friend, the duffel bag, the missing cash, the draft divorce papers, the $200 withdrawals that funded Abigail's party, the custom cake topper, and the expensive dessert trays now being used at her engagement celebration. Everything clicked sickeningly violently into place. Timothy Petrov, 49M, wasn't just planning to divorce me 2 weeks after the wedding to snag alimony. Timothy Petrov was engaged to Abigail Lopez, 54F, and they were celebrating right now. And my wedding, my whole life, it wasn't just being sabotaged, it was being used as a decoy. Timothy was collecting my money and my expensive wedding gifts, prepping for the quick divorce settlement, and using the exact same day and time of my ruined ceremony to have his actual, paid-for, catered engagement party with my maid of honor. The air leaves my lungs. I feel numb, but a terrifying, cold fury takes over. I look at Timothy. He opens his mouth, clearly ready to try some last-ditch gaslighting maneuver. "Wayne, listen to me, honey. We need to talk about this privately." "You're overreacting." I lean in close so only he can hear the words, which are delivered in my best professional low-contact enforcer voice, deadly quiet. "The wedding is off, Timothy, and you are about to find out exactly why they pay me so much to ensure people adhere to legal agreements. You don't get the BMW, you don't get the gifts, and you certainly don't get the divorce settlement." I turn to the assembled guests, who are all frozen in place. I force a smile, a real one this time, fueled by spite. "We thank you all for coming. The ceremony is postponed indefinitely. However, the barbecue is absolutely still on and the bar is officially open. Eat, drink, and be merry. You just witnessed the only exciting part of the day, and please enjoy the champagne. Timothy won't be paying for it." I turn on my heel and walk toward the BMW. Timothy is sputtering, his face red. "Timothy, you can't just leave. Wayne, that's Abigail's car." I pull out my keys. My job requires having copies of basically every key for our home and vehicles, just in case of low-contact enforcement necessity. I had made a copy of the BMW valet key 2 weeks ago, just in case Abigail needed me to move it if she parked it in the wrong spot, or so I thought. I press the key fob. The BMW lights flash. I open the driver's side door. Timothy rushes at me, desperation overtaking his charm. "Wayne, stop. You need to give me that car. We have things planned." I get in, start the engine, a satisfying, deep, expensive rumble, and look at him through the passenger window. Me, "Oh, I know you do, Timothy, and I'm going to pay them a little visit." I turn the steering wheel. I peel out of the parking lot, hearing the frantic shouts of Timothy Petrov fading behind me. I was heading 20 miles away to crash my own maid of honor's engagement party in her own car. And I was going to use every single one of my low-contact enforcer skills to make sure they both regretted this. But as I merged onto the highway, hitting 80 mph and feeling the rush of adrenaline mixed with pure distilled betrayal, I caught sight of something in the rear view mirror. Deanna Richardson, 61F, the package stealer, was getting into her black Mercedes SUV and pulling out of the lot right behind me. She was following me, and she was crying. I slowed down slightly. Why was Diana following me? Was she just curious? Was she loyal to Abigail? She pulls up alongside me, weaving slightly through the July 4th traffic. She rolls down her passenger window, tears streaming down her face, yelling something over the wind and the traffic noise. I roll down mine. Wayne, pull over, you need to know they stole more than the cake topper. I check my mirrors. Timothy's beat-up Corolla is nowhere in sight yet. What did they steal, Deanna? I yell back, furious. She looks genuinely distraught, tears washing away the excessive glitter on her cheeks. They stole my package, Wayne, the one I ordered for the wedding. They switched it. What package? What are you talking about? The one that got delivered Tuesday, the one Abigail told me was yours, the one I saw Timothy take out in the duffel bag, she screams. It wasn't wedding supplies, Wayne. That package was my diploma, my degree. Abigail promised to help me file my paperwork to finally go back to school. My foot slips on the gas. Deanna, the infamous package stealer, was pursuing an education. And Abigail, the narcissistic bride-to-be, had allegedly stolen her degree paperwork, packaging it as wedding supplies backup so Timothy could run off with it along with my dessert trays while Diana was doing their bidding. What the actual hell kind of web of deceit was this? And why was Abigail stealing a 61-year-old woman's diploma? I had thought this was just about money and betrayal. Now it was about educational sabotage and a criminal conspiracy involving my fiancé, my maid of honor, and the neighborhood package thief who apparently just wanted a diploma. I stare at Diana. Why would she steal your degree? I yell. Diana pulls ahead slightly, then slows, looking at me with frantic urgency. She told me if I got my degree, I'd be smarter than her, Deanna yells, wiping snot away with the back of her hand. She said I had to do what she told me until after the wedding or she'd destroy it. She's been threatening me for months. I need that package, Wayne. I was completely floored. This wasn't just a breakup. This was a criminal operation funded by my savings involving psychological manipulation and education theft. I gunned the BMW, ready to find out what the hell was in that package. As I glance down at the dash, my phone still on the Find My iPhone app starts screaming a notification alert, the one reserved for imminent danger. It wasn't Timothy or Abigail who had sent it. It was Diana Richardson, 61F. The location tracking had just been activated on her end too, and she wasn't tracking me. She was tracking the car I was driving, the BMW. The alert banner reads, Deanna Richardson is requesting remote activation of GPS kill switch. Wait, she's following me, crying about her stolen diploma and simultaneously trying to turn off the engine of the car I am driving? Why? My eyes snap to the screen of the BMW's console. The center display lights up with a single, massive notification. Theft DETCTD. Owner has ACTIVATD IMMOBILIZR. Engine shut down in 60 seconds. My jaw literally dropped. The BMW wasn't Abigail's, it was Deanna's. She had stolen that too, and Abigail had used it to lure Timothy into the plan, using the stolen diploma as blackmail to force Diana to keep quiet about the car. But if Diana owned the car, why would she let Timothy drive it? And more urgently, why would she activate the kill switch while we were both going 80 mph on the I-95 on the 4th of July? The countdown timer flashes red, 58 seconds. I smash the brakes, swerving violently into the emergency lane, the BMW screaming around me. Deanna's black Mercedes is already pulling ahead, accelerating rapidly towards the country club, leaving me stranded on the side of a packed interstate with a ticking time bomb of an engine and a mind full of horrifying, unanswered questions. I need to know what the package was. I need to know why Diana had the kill switch access. I need to know why Abigail hated the idea of her getting a diploma so much. And I need to know why, after all this, I'm still feeling weirdly relieved that I don't have to marry Timothy. The clock hits 15 seconds. I scramble to open the door, grabbing the laptop with the incriminating evidence. I'm about to be stranded on the interstate with a smoking BMW and a catastrophic amount of knowledge. This is going to require more than low-contact enforcement. This requires a full-blown investigation. I knew one thing for sure. The pursuit of education was about to get extremely dangerous. Dude, you guys are not going to believe the next 60 seconds of my life, NGL. I slammed the door of the immobilized BMW and sprinted toward the median strip, clutching the laptop like it was a newborn baby made of incriminating evidence. The countdown timer on the dash hit 0, 0, 0, and the car let out this pathetic little whine and then went silent. Smoke started drifting from under the hood, a thick, expensive-smelling smoke. I was marooned on the shoulder of I-95 on the 4th of July, wearing a three-piece wedding suit, holding a laptop, and watching the neighborhood package stealer drive away toward my best friend's secret engagement party. This is my life now. The noise of the passing traffic was deafening. I looked back down the highway. No sign of Timothy's beat-up Corolla, thank God. He was probably still screaming at the guests or trying to steal back the BMW keys from the engine itself. I needed an Uber immediately, but my brain was still cycling through the fact that Diana Richardson, the black Merc bandit, the woman who once stole a 7-foot inflatable flamingo from my neighbor's yard, was being blackmailed by my maid of honor because Abigail was afraid Diana would get a diploma and become smarter than her. Abigail. The sheer depth of the narcissistic pettiness was staggering. It wasn't enough to steal my money and my fiancé. She had to sabotage a 61-year-old woman's basic aspiration for self-improvement. I ordered an Uber Black. I wasn't waiting for a Prius on the 4th of July shoulder. I put the destination as Silver Spoon's luxury events. I looked at the BMW. I had to ditch it. If Diana wanted to report it stolen, fine. I had the key and the evidence that Abigail arranged for Timothy to take it. Let the police figure out the chain of ownership on this criminal vehicle relay race. The Uber arrived in a terrifyingly fast 8 minutes. I jumped in, apologized for the suit and the general aura of catastrophic failure, and pointed the driver toward the country club. I used the 15-minute drive to calm my professional low-contact enforcer side down enough to formulate a plan. I had 3 objectives. 1. Confirm Timothy and Abigail's engagement and confront them with the financial fraud and divorce papers. 2. Retrieve Diana's stolen diploma package. 3. Establish clear boundaries and start the process of reclaiming my money. I also realized I needed an ally. My phone was vibrating nonstop with texts from guests at the farm, all confusion and awkward apologies. I scrolled past them all until I found the contact I needed, Deanna Richardson, 61F. She had pulled the immobilizer on me, which was a jerk move, but she was also the key witness and the primary victim of the specific education-based sabotage. I texted her. Me, Diana, I know you're trying to get to the club. I'm in an Uber behind you. Why did you kill the BMW? Deanna, instant reply. I freaked. I saw you driving it and realized I never wanted Timothy to have it. I bought that car last year for my 60th birthday, Wayne. Abigail said she'd only give me my diploma package back if I let Timothy use it today and kept quiet about the exchange. I just wanted my degree. I needed to enroll at community college next semester. My heart softened slightly. This woman was a criminal TBH, but she was a criminal with a dream of higher education. Me, okay, let's work together. You need the diploma, I need the truth and my money. Do you know where the package is, Deanna? Abigail said it was in the trunk of the BMW labeled wedding supplies backup. When Timothy pulled the car out of the lot, he transferred the duffel bag into the trunk of the Mercedes while I was dropping off the cheese. I have it. What? Diana, the package stealer, had stolen the package back. This was the greatest plot twist of the day, and that's saying something. Me, you have the duffel bag, open it, tell me what is inside. Deanna, hold on, I'm almost at the club. I waited, my palms sweating. The Uber driver thankfully was completely oblivious, listening to a podcast about the history of fireworks. Deanna, 3 minutes later, all caps, Wayne, it's here, the diploma. It's a Bachelor of Arts in History from 1983. And there's also the cake topper and your custom dessert trays. She packed it all together. Me, okay, Deanna, you drive up to the club, park the Mercedes, and stay hidden. Do not confront Abigail. Do not confront Timothy. Wait for my signal. You have the leverage now. Deanna, got it. I'm parking 2 blocks away. Call me when you need me. And Wayne, I am so sorry about the packages. I had to maintain my image. I almost laughed. A criminal prioritizing her reputation while being blackmailed by my maid of honor over a 40-year-old BA degree. You can't make this stuff up. I arrived at the Silver Spoons Luxury Events Country Club. It was exactly what you imagine, manicured lawns, fountains, and too many people wearing beige linen. I paid the Uber driver, gave him a massive tip, and walked toward the entrance, trying to channel every ounce of professional low-contact enforcer energy I had ever mustered. I was here to enforce a contract, just not the one Timothy thought we had. I walked into the ballroom. It was stunning. White flowers, champagne fountains, and 50 or so people who looked significantly wealthier and more boring than my barbecue guests. They were all standing around in little groups sipping bubbly, and right in the center next to a huge garish sign that read CONGRATULATIONS, Abigail and Timothy were the happy couple. Abigail, 54F, was wearing a white cocktail dress that cost more than my first car. Timothy, 49M, was wearing the exact same pristine tuxedo he was supposed to wear to marry me an hour ago. He looked smug, relaxed, and completely convinced he had pulled off the perfect scam. I spotted the custom dessert trays immediately. They were currently holding mini quiches. And yes, perched on top of a 3-tiered cake, not my custom cake, thankfully just a generic one, was my $800 custom wedding cake topper. A little figurine of 2 dogs, a beagle and a Dalmatian shaking hands, my dogs. I walked straight toward them. Nobody noticed me immediately because I looked like every other stressed white guy in a suit. Abigail saw me first. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She looked like a particularly high-end goldfish. Timothy turned, following her gaze. His smug expression evaporated, replaced by pure wide-eyed terror. It was glorious. I stopped 3 feet away, letting the silence draw attention. The surrounding chatter started to die down. Me, fancy meeting you here, Abigail. You said you were stuck in traffic. Abigail, finding her voice, immediately trying to take control. Wayne, what are you doing here? You ruined everything. You were supposed to be at the farm. Me, the farm? Oh yes. The farm where I was supposed to marry the man who was actively drafting a divorce settlement to financially ruin me 2 weeks later. You mean that farm? The silence in the ballroom became absolute zero. Timothy tried his usual move. He stepped forward, putting on the charm, though we need to talk privately. Look. Timothy, Wayne, honey, you need to leave. You're making a scene. This is a misunderstanding. We can discuss the paperwork later. Me, no, Timothy, we discuss the paperwork now. Because as an enforcer, I believe in immediacy. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to the screenshot of the Petra V. Howard divorce settlement draft file name. I didn't show the content, just the title. I zoomed in and held it up for him and Abigail to see. Me, this is a draft divorce settlement dated last month. You plan to file in 2 weeks, demanding alimony, having already depleted our joint account. And you, Abigail, were supposed to be my maid of honor while funding your own engagement party with my stolen cash. Abigail scoffed, trying to regain her narcissistic high ground. That's ridiculous. Timothy is my fiance. He told me you were just a placeholder until he could afford to leave you. And that money was a loan. Me, a loan for a party that uses my custom dog cake topper. I pointed to the cake. Several guests followed my gaze, noticing the beagle and Dalmatian figures. Timothy, realizing he couldn't gaslight the situation, pivoted to legal threat, which was hilarious considering who he was talking to. Timothy, you broke into my files, Wayne. That's illegal. I'll sue you for violating my privacy. Me, sue me for looking in a folder you hid in the Hulu cache. Timothy, please. I'm Wayne Howard. I write the book on finding digital loopholes. And trust me, what I found next is much worse for you. I held up the catering invoice. Me, this catering deposit, $600 cash, paid for this party. Paid for with money skimmed from our rent and utility fund, which means this is theft, financial fraud. And since this party, complete with my stolen property, the dessert trays and the cake topper, is happening simultaneously with my scheduled wedding ceremony, this isn't just cheating, Timothy. This is a criminal conspiracy to commit financial fraud and emotional damage, all orchestrated by you two. Abigail started screaming, not crying, screaming because she was losing control of the narrative. Abigail, you ruined my day. You always ruin everything, Wayne. You always have to be better than me. Me, oh, Abigail, I thought this was just about money and jealousy over wedding planning, but then I found out about Diana. I saw Abigail freeze. Her face went slack. That was the moment she knew I knew too much. Me, you didn't just sabotage my wedding, Abigail. You blackmailed a 61-year-old woman, the neighborhood package stealer, into helping you by stealing her 1983 BA in history diploma, convincing her that if she got smarter than you, you'd destroy her future education plans. Abigail tried to laugh it off, but it came out shaky. That woman is insane. She's a thief, Wayne. She lies. I pulled out my phone and called Diana. I put her on speakerphone, stepping back slightly so the surrounding guests could hear. Diana, loud, clear, and slightly tearful. Wayne, is that you? I'm sorry about the car, but I had to get the package back. Abigail, you narcissistic monster. I have my diploma. You thought I couldn't go to community college, but you were wrong. Abigail lunged for my phone. I sidestepped her like the professional low-contact individual I am. She stumbled, knocking over a champagne tower. A glorious, crystal-shattering mess, me yelling over the chaos. She has the diploma, Abigail. She has the leverage. And she is a witness to the duffel bag exchange where Timothy used my money to pay for the car rental in this party. Did you really think Diana wouldn't eventually tell someone about your educational sabotage? Abigail looked utterly defeated, tears of fury streaming down her face. Timothy, realizing the whole house of cards had collapsed, started backing toward the exit. I didn't try to stop him. He wasn't the goal right now. Abigail was the architect of the malice. Me, Abigail, you are out of my life permanently. I will not pursue criminal charges if you sign over the title to that BMW to Diana and pay back the $600 you stole, plus interest, within 48 hours. Abigail looked livid. The BMW isn't even mine, it's leased. It's under a business name. Me, then you will use the money you saved by canceling the surprise wedding shower for me. I wish I was joking about the level of delusion here. To pay Diana the cash equivalent of that car's value, or I call the police and present all the evidence, including the blackmail regarding her education. I knew the criminal charges might not stick, but the threat was sufficient to trigger her narcissistic fear of public humiliation. I looked down at the dessert tray with the quiches. I picked up my dog cake topper. Me, I'm taking this back. You can keep the mini quiches. I turned, leaving Abigail screaming at her guests about how unstable I was. Timothy was gone. He had literally sprinted out the back door. I walked out of the country club, dog topper in hand, feeling a strange mix of nauseating relief and cold professional satisfaction. I called Diana. Me, meet me at the nearest Starbucks. You have your diploma, I have leverage, and I need a ride home. 2 days later, the messy logistics, I'm back. Sorry for the delay updating. I've been dealing with logistical hell that makes running a debt enforcement ring look easy. Some of you messaged asking if I'm okay. I'm getting there. I haven't slept more than 4 hours a night, but I've successfully changed the locks and the Wi-Fi password. Small victories, right? So Diana showed up at the Starbucks with the duffel bag and her 1983 diploma. Honestly, it was a surprisingly nice document. She was buzzing with excitement and nervous energy. She looked totally different when she wasn't actively trying to maintain her package stealer persona. I laid out the deal for her. Me, I need you to testify not in a court but for my lawyer that Abigail was involved in this scheme and that she used the stolen diploma to blackmail you into silence about the car and the money. In exchange, I'm making Abigail pay you the cost of the BMW and I'll help you file the community college application paperwork. Diana looked overwhelmed but nodded. I'll do it, Wayne. I want Abigail to pay and I really want to go to school. This is where the low-contact enforcer skills actually helped me in my personal life. I immediately contacted my lawyer, who usually handles high-value corporate fraud, and explained the situation. He was laughing so hard he almost choked on his $1,000 hourly rate. My lawyer, bless his heart, immediately sent a very cold, specific cease and desist letter to both Timothy and Abigail, demanding the repayment of the stolen $600 plus damages. We padded that number significantly, and explicitly mentioned the evidence of the divorce settlement draft and the coercion of Diana regarding her educational documentation. The reaction was immediate. Abigail called me 2 hours later. Abigail hysterical. Wayne, you cannot do this. This is insane. You're going to ruin my career. Abigail works in middle management HR, which explains her love of control. Me, you should have thought of that before you used my money to fund your engagement to my fiance and stole a 61-year-old woman's diploma, Abigail. Abigail, it's not about the diploma, it's the principle. She was trying to compete with me. I've been your best friend since high school. Me, you were never my friend, Abigail. You were just waiting for me to fail. Now pay Diana and leave me alone. I hung up. I immediately blocked her number and every social media profile she had. It felt amazing. Timothy predictably tried a different route, the pathetic approach. He left me a voicemail sounding genuinely distraught. Wayne, please, honey, call me. I made a mistake. I panicked. Abigail pressured me. I need to talk about the apartment. I have nowhere to go. I still love you, Wayne. LOL. Classic gold digger attempt to secure housing and emotional stability. I sent the voicemail straight to my lawyer, who laughed again. Fast forward to Friday, 3 days after the explosion. I am sitting in my apartment, which feels vast and empty now. I had to pay Timothy's half of the rent, obviously. He's vanished. We suspect he's staying with Abigail, but we can't confirm it. My friend group has officially fractured. Half of them are sending me supportive texts. Timothy is a monster. Abigail is a psychopath. And the other half are awkwardly suggesting I take the high road, i.e. let Abigail and Timothy get away with it. I'm ignoring the high road people. The biggest news, Abigail complied. By Thursday afternoon, Diana texted me a screenshot of a massive bank transfer. Diana, Wayne, she sent the money, $45,000. She said it was pain and suffering compensation. But I know it's the BMW money. I checked with my lawyer. He confirmed Abigail's lawyer had settled the BMW equivalent compensation immediately to avoid the potential blackmail coercion claim getting into discovery. The lawyer also got Timothy to sign a quick ironclad separation agreement waiving any claim to my assets in exchange for not pursuing the $600 theft claim, provided he stayed gone. It was a messy, legally gray resolution, but for me, clean separation and emotional safety were worth the money. I used the recovered funds to immediately pay Diana $5,000 for her community college tuition and books. I met Diana on Saturday morning at a coffee shop near the community college. She was beaming, clutching her admissions paperwork and her 1983 diploma. Diana, Wayne, I registered for Intro to American History. I'm going to do this. I haven't been this excited since 1985. Me, you deserve it, Diana. You were a critical witness and you got the degree back. Just promise me one thing, stop stealing packages. Diana shrugging. I mean, sometimes Amazon leaves them right there, but I'll stick to snacks. Education comes first now. A week went by where I mostly stayed indoors, ordering takeout and binging old spy shows. I was processing the betrayal, the loss of my financial stability, temporary but real, and the utter collapse of my two closest relationships. I cried in the shower exactly 3 times. I almost texted Timothy once at 2 a.m. I didn't. Instead, I changed the password to my bank accounts just in case. By Tuesday, I was numb but functioning. I went back to work. The irony of enforcing low-contact debt agreements while being a victim of fraud was not lost on my cynical soul. My boss, knowing I had just survived a major personal catastrophe, gave me the shadiest, most complicated file he could find. It was oddly therapeutic. The confrontation I didn't expect. I thought Timothy was gone for good. The separation agreement was signed electronically, verified by my lawyer. I hadn't seen him or the Corolla. Update. This morning he showed up at my door, apartment 3B. I heard the frantic pounding around 8:30 a.m. I looked through the peephole. It was Timothy, looking distinctly less pristine than he did in the tuxedo. His hair was messy, he was wearing a cheap t-shirt, and he looked terrified. I didn't open the door, but I engaged my low-contact enforcer voice, cold and flat, speaking through the thick wood. Me, Timothy, you are violating the separation agreement by being here. You waived all claims to the apartment and its contents. Timothy, desperate, yelling. Wayne, she kicked me out. Abigail found a new guy, a financial analyst. She said I wasn't moving up fast enough and she was tired of funding my consulting fees. I literally leaned my head against the door inside. Of course she did. Abigail only valued people who could serve as mirrors for her success. Timothy, now a failure who couldn't secure alimony, was useless to her. Me, that sounds like a Timothy problem, not a me problem. Timothy, I need my stuff, my books, my expensive grooming products. I can't live like this. Me, your grooming products were included in the settlement against the cost of the stolen cash. I mailed you the few books you owned yesterday via UPS, tracking number provided. You have nothing left here, Timothy, but I have nowhere to go. Wayne, please, just for a few nights, we can talk about us. I miss the stability. That line hit me hard. Stability. He didn't miss me. He missed the anchor, the bank, the reliable source of income and credit score. I looked down at the floor, steadying myself. This was the moment of reckoning. Could I break my professional boundaries and let him in? Past me, the idiot who fell for the Hallmark lines might have. New me, the person who survived the July 4th financial fraud explosion, was different. Me, the stability you're looking for, Timothy, is inside yourself. You need to address the gold digging, the lying, and the gambling. I suggest you start saving money and pursuing actual employment. You have a chance to build a life where you don't need a host. I heard a choked sob on the other side of the door. Timothy, you're just going to leave me on the street after everything we had? Me, we didn't have anything, Timothy. You had a meticulously planned scam and I had my head up my ass. Now leave before I call the police. I waited. After a minute of silence, I heard his footsteps retreating. He was gone. The emotional crash came later, when I stress-ate an entire carton of Talenti gelato, the wedding leftovers, and GL, and watched YouTube videos of puppies. Resolution, the education pursued. It's been almost a month since the 4th of July disaster. I finally feel like the vibration of rage has subsided to a dull hum. The biggest ongoing success story, Deanna Richardson, 61F. She is thriving at community college. She sends me weekly updates on her history classes. Yesterday, she sent me a picture of her first research paper titled, The Financial Structure of Post-WWII Suburbia, A Study in Debt and Desire. She also sent me a photo of her Mercedes, fully detailed and looking amazing, parked outside the library. She keeps joking that she should steal the expensive textbooks instead of buying them, but she always ends the text with, kidding. Education is sacred. Abigail's life has become exactly what she feared, public gossip. Her expensive engagement party was universally acknowledged by the mutual friend group as the psychopath celebration. She lost the new fiance. The financial analyst naturally knew how to spot a liability, and she had to take emergency administrative leave from her HR job due to the hostile situation I created, TBH. She's laying low in Arizona. Timothy is still floating. I heard through the grapevine, a mutual friend who is decidedly Team Wayne, that he's doing some sort of financial consulting from a dingy motel near the airport, probably trying to ensnare his next stable victim. I feel pity, but I also know that low contact means zero contact. He made his choice. I'm typing this from my tiny, newly leased one-bedroom apartment. I broke the lease on the two-bedroom, massive fees obviously, but worth it. It's basically a shoebox, but it's mine. The wedding guests, who were actually good people, all pitched in and threw me a housewarming party, complete with the famous Dave's barbecue caterer, which was delicious even without the specter of impending fraud hanging over me. I still have bad days. Days where I look at the old wedding registry list and want to throw things. Days where I realize how deeply I was manipulated, and that hurts. I went through the divorce settlement draft again just to understand the mechanics of how he planned to bleed me dry. It was meticulous, and that fact that he put so much effort into betrayal is still the thing that stings the most. But I'm getting better. I've been doing something I never would have done before: therapy. 4 sessions in, and I'm unpacking layers of why I ignored the slippery quality of Timothy and tolerated the narcissistic motivation of Abigail. I realized I was so focused on being the professional enforcer, the stable anchor, that I forgot to enforce boundaries in my personal life. The whole disaster, started by a gold digger, a narcissist, and a package stealer, ended up being about the critical importance of a 61-year-old woman finally achieving her college degree. The irony is absolutely sublime. I'm done trying to be the stability for everyone else. I'm focusing on stability for myself. I've learned that low contact enforcement works professionally, but in life, sometimes you need high contact when things get messy. You need allies, lawyers, and people who will scream the truth over a ruined champagne fountain. Yesterday, I was talking to Diana about her paper, and she said, "Wayne, you know, the most valuable thing I learned from all this isn't in my history book. It's knowing when to ditch the package and pursue the diploma." She's right. I ditched the package, the whole ruined wedding and relationship, and now I'm pursuing my own education, not in a classroom, but in how to be a better, smarter 54-year-old man who finally understands the difference between love and being exploited. We'll update if Timothy tries to Venmo request me for the cost of the BMW equivalent that Abigail paid Deanna, because that would be exactly the kind of move he'd pull. Anyway, that's the update. Thanks for letting me vent into the void. It helped more than you know. Get yourselves a lawyer, change your passwords, and always check the ring footage, even if your fiance says it's an invasion of privacy. Turns out it's evidence.